এটা আসলে এক কাপ চায় হয় না, পোষায় না।
পোষায় না, হ্যাঁ, এই রোজার দিনে আসলে টায়ার্ড হয়ে যেত, হেল্প করে। থ্যাংক ইউ ভাই, খুব মজার খাবার দিলেন, আমরা খুব এনজয় করছি। আপনি খুব কষ্ট করছেন। থ্যাংক ইউ।
আপনারা তো করছেন, সবাইকে থ্যাংক ইউ।
নিচে তো খুব মজা করে খেয়েছে, যে পিঠটা খুব ইয়ামি ইয়ামি, আরামসে দিয়ে খেয়েছে আরামসে। আচ্ছা,
ইয়ামি। থ্যাংক ইউ।
الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد الخلق أجمعين. اللهم ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وارحمنا واهدنا واهد بنا وعافنا ربنا وارزقنا وبارك لنا اللهم فيما أعطيتنا وزدنا علما يا رحمن يا رحيم. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen that we're going through the Surah Quran and running to the home stretch at the end of the month of Ramadan. And subhanAllah, how the month came so fast and is going away so fast. And it is the month of Rahmah and the month of Maghfirah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, give us the best ni'mah and accept our qiyam and our siyam and accept our salah and accept our ibadat, inshallah, in the month of Ramadan. Inshallah, today I'm going to be talking about two different surah. And they are in the spreading between the juz' number 23 and the juz' number 24. And these two surah are Surah Al-Safat and Surah Sad. Surah Al-Safat, it has the sequence of number 37 in the Quran, and it has 182 ayah, short ayah. And Surah Al-Safat, which is the name of the Safat, talking about the ones who are standing in line in a saf. So the Safat is basically what the scholars have described it are the angels. And this is what the sequence, look at the first few ayat describes the angels and what they do the day of judgment. The surah that in general talks about how to give in, make surrender, make istislam to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though what we see in front of us defies our logic and things are not exactly what we think it is. But surrendering and giving in to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the name of the good Muslim who give in to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you notice, most of these ayat, about 4 or 5 of them so far, so the surah that we've been going through the last couple of days, including these two surah in front of us, discusses the same thing, as important as it is for us to surrender, to make tawakkul, to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the times of difficulty, in the times of not knowing what's going on, in the times of seeing things different than what you think it is. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best for you. Once you believe in that, that's an essential part of your belief. In this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts with the Safat, the ones who are standing in line in the way of Saf, which is the angels. Fazajirati zajra, the ones who make the ones in the day of judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have them all standing in line, and they will be with the angels standing there, directing them, guiding them, and they make zajr to them. And anybody goes out of line, they go after him, they whip him, they straighten him out. The day of judgment, there's no chaos, there's no commotion. Everybody's in line, no matter who are these people. Got to be billions and billions of people, billions and billions of creatures out there, the jinn and the ins. But the angels, they will be standing in line. And there's one hadith about this, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and also mentioned in Surah Sabah, Surah Fatir, is that the angels, they will be clapping the wings every time they make tasbih to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is to show you the conformity and the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at its best. فَالتَّالِيَاتِ ذِكْرًا, the ones who make dhikr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasizes the ayah number 4, إِنَّ إِلَهَكُمْ لَوَاحِدٌ, your God, your deity, the only deity worthy of worship is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one and only. And He is Rabb al-Samawati wal-Ard, He is the Rabb of heaven and earth, and what's in between, and Rabb al-Mashariq, and He is the Rabb of the Mashariq, all the sunrises, all of them, and you notice that how the sunrise changes direction. So there's infinite amount of sunrises, which is they change position throughout the years. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, talks about how he beautified the heaven, beautified the sky, and kept it from the non-conformists, from the jinn who are trying to listen in to the orders of the heaven from with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prevented them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throws rocks at them. He sends angels who protect the heaven, throwing rocks at them, except the one who can steal something from the news of the heaven. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited them from doing this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us in this surah examples of the people, good pious people, these messengers. There's a total of 7 of them are mentioned in this surah. And their stories, how they were conformist, how they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they followed his ways, even though it seemed to be something difficult to believe or difficult to follow or difficult to understand. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks at the beginning of it, says, وَلَقَدْ نَادَيْنَا نُوحٌ فَلَنِعْمَ الْمُجِيبُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have called upon Nuh alayhi salam, and he is mujib. He answered right away, promptly, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his call. وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَأَهْلَهُ مِنَ الْكَرْبِ الْعَظِيمِ. We have saved him and his ahl and his family from the huge burden and the hardship that they've been through. وَجَعَلْنَا ذُرِّيَّتَهُ هُمُ الْبَاقِينَ وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. What was the test of Nuh alayhi salam? When he's going for 950 years making da'wah to his people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered him to do something, to make something that have never been made before. It's an ark, it's a ship in the middle of the desert. And for him, even though he received the order, even though it seems to be completely illogical, doesn't make any sense, why would you do that? And people are making fun of him. But subhanAllah, he abided, he completed the mission. And when the rain came, when the water came from the earth and the rain came from the heaven, he understood why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered him to build the ship and what was the idea of saving him and saving the believers in a physical way, not in a spiritual or mental way, not for them to walk away, for actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send a saving device in front of him. He abided, even though it seemed to be to the whole humanity something illogical that would not make any sense. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about him, he says, إِنَّا كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. That's how we reward the muhsineen, we reward the good doers who do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ ثُمَّ أَغْرَقْنَا الْآخَرِينَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how he saved him and he drowned the others. The other story is Ibrahim. وَإِنَّ مِنْ شِيعَتِهِ لَإِبْرَاهِيم. From his Shia, from his group of the followers, is Ibrahim alayhi salam. إِذْ جَاءَ رَبَّهُ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. He came to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a clean, clear heart. And this is the argument when he argued with his people. He says, what you guys are doing? You are worshipping idols, worshipping statues that they don't do you any good. They don't benefit themselves. They don't benefit you. They don't cause any harm to anybody. They don't cause any harm to you. They don't do anything for you. And after all this has, went through, with the arguments going back and forth between them, and he says, and we know the story what he has done with their deities. What they said, they wanted to do something bad for him, is that they wanted to harm him, فَقَالُوا حَرِّقُوهُ, kill him or burn him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him and turned the fire into a peaceful, cool atmosphere for him to go through. It seems to be illogical, but he surrendered his ways to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewarded him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us another example of the action of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And this is the ayah number 102. When Ibrahim alayhi salam got to be so old in age, and he had Ismail alayhi salam, and he was so joyous and so happy for him to have a child from Hajar. And of course, we know the story when he left them in the area of Mecca, and then he came back to him afterwards. And this is the story here. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ قَالَ يَا بُنَيَّ إِنِّي أَرَى فِي الْمَنَامِ أَنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ. After having a child on such an old age, and he's waiting for this child, and he would love to see his own child, especially losing his own family that he left behind in in Iraq in the time. When he came back and he saw his son reaching the age of Sa'i, in other words, he's about maybe an early teenager or something like that. He saw in the dream that he is slaughtering, he is actually killing his own son, making the bih of his own son, sacrificing his own son. And it seems to be illogical. It seems to be to us, it doesn't make any sense. After all this wait, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants him a child, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders him, or he sees in the dream that he is killing his own child. He is actually sacrificing his own child. Yet, look at the beauty of the surah, where Ismail alayhi salam قال يا أبت افعل ما تؤمر ستجدني إن شاء الله لتجدني إن شاء الله من الصابرين. Do what you're ordered to do, you will find me from the Sabirin. Ibrahim alayhi salam never hesitated. Ismail alayhi salam never hesitated. As young as he was, Ismail alayhi salam put him on the rock and he brought the knife. And the moment that the knife touched the skin of Ismail alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Jibreel, he says, لَقَدْ صَدَّقْتَ الرُّؤْيَا. You have executed it, even though it didn't make any sense to you, but you did it and you complied with it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have replaced this Dabiha Ismail alayhi salam. We have given you a kabsh. We have given you a great, goat or lamb that is sent to you from heaven for you to slaughter it. And said, إِنَّهُ كَانَ مِنَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Look what we have done with Ibrahim. When you follow the orders, you follow blindly, even though it doesn't make any sense, even though you find difficulty for you to negotiate it and bargain with it, but yet if you execute it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the reward of muhsineen. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the next ones. It talks about, other than the son of Ishaq, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave, Dawood alayhi salam, and how he has given him so much. There's no mention of Dawood here. There's no mention of Ishaq alayhi salam, but there's only mention that Ishaq is his son, and the next one would be, in line would be Musa alayhi salam. Musa and Harun, the group of two. وَنَجَّيْنَاهُمَا وَقَوْمُهُمَا مِنَ الْكَرْبِ الْعَظِيمِ. We have saved them from the extreme difficulty, extreme hardship that they were living with Fir'aun and his ways. وَهَدَيْنَاهُمَ الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. We've given them the straight path of what they were going through. سَلَامٌ عَلَى Musa and Harun. Subhanallah, when you think about it, look what the orders of Musa alayhi salam and Harun. Things seems to be unbelievable. Is it possible for two messengers to come in and for them to be able to defeat Fir'aun and all his apparatus, all his government, all his kingdom, all his armies, and see this being dissolved or being, they're all being dead, being drowned in front of their eyes? It seems to be undoable, but the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was clear and they followed it literally every step of the way. And look at the reward of Musa alayhi salam and the reward of Harun alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala finishes the story with, إِنَّا كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. That's how we reward the muhsineen, the good doers, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This إِنَّا كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ is being repeated on and on and on, several times in the surah after every single ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings the story of another prophet. We don't hear of him very much. His name is Ilyas. Ilyas is one of the prophets from Bani Israel, also as well, the scholars have told us. And Ilyas has another name. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he used to call him Idris. So he used to call him Idrasin instead of Ilyasin. He used to call him Idrasin. So a lot of scholars, they're believing that Idris is actually Ilyas. But Bani Israel or the Israelite, they say that he's from one of their prophets. Allahu Alam which story is the correct one. But he is definitely a prophet from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He came to his people, and these people were worshipping. They have a kingdom, and there's a king. They were worshipping a statue. And this statue is called Baal. So he came to them. He says, "Worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and leave this Baal." But what has happened is that the king believed in Ilyas alayhi salam, believed in the message, but his people didn't. So eventually the king converted back into the religion of his own people. But Ilyas alayhi salam came to them and he told them, he says, look, if you don't, comply, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send a drought upon you. And sure enough, they were tortured with the drought. They've been said like 3 days or 3 years for a long period of time, 3 months. Eventually, they came back to Ilyas. They said, you know what, if you ask your Rabb to send the rain upon us, we will leave the Baal, that God, that deity, and we will worship your God. Ilyas alayhi salam made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the rain upon them. But once the rain came, they transgressed even more than what they were doing before. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Ilyas alayhi salam and all the believers with him also. The last story in it is Yunus alayhi salam. And this is the last mention here of Yunus. As we mentioned, he has his own surah, but there's no mention of him. Yunus alayhi salam is also a prophet from Bani Israel. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to bestow upon him the responsibility or the work of a prophecy, but he thought it was too much for him. He wanted to run away. He climbed in a ship and he was thinking that there's no way for me, I can handle it, I don't want to do it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the qadr, and eventually the ship kind of shook a little bit. The people on the ship, they looked at each other, they thought, you know what, the ship is either too heavy or there's an evildoer that's on the ship, let's throw him out. And they made a lottery, and 3 times every single time that Yunus alayhi salam, his name was coming in as the one. So when when Yunus alayhi salam was picked out, they threw him on the ship, and when he was thrown off of the ship, a hoot, a whale came in and picked him up. And when he was inside the stomach of the whale, he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says, فَلَوْلَا أَنَّهُ كَانَ مِنَ الْمُسَبِّحِينَ, without the fact that he used to make tasbih to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لَلَبِثَ فِي بَطَنِهِ إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ, he would stay in his stomach until the end of time. And then eventually the whale spat him out, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put him on a beach, put him a tree of squash, and he cured his burns. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him to 100,000 or more. This is the people of Yunus in Nainawa. This is what we talked about in Iraq today, which is Mosul today, the eastern part of Mosul from Dijla. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him guidance overall. Surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what the surah is talking about. No matter how difficult, no matter how unreasonable things seems to be to you, no matter how things doesn't make sense, no matter what it is, surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you fully, will give you the jaza and the reward of muhsineen overall. Surah Sad, the next surah, also is rich with a lot of stories. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the ones kuffar, they're in izzah and shiqaq. They are in separation, they stay away from the ways of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their ways of izzah. So we cannot be defeated, our ways is correct, our ways are good. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he tells them this, the ayah says in ayah number 17, اصبر على ما يقولون, have sabr, have patience on what they say to you, what they do to you. In other words, have sabr on the exterior elements of what's going on around you from the outside, and do not give up on your deen. Do not allow the outside elements to influence you, to make you deviate, to make you leave, or even to doubt yourself. Because a Muslim is in doubt, is basically he's an idol. He's no longer active in his mission. He's no longer given to his task what he does. Do not allow the outside sources to influence you. In other words, you could mean it in the meaning is that surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do not surrender to others. Or you could say have sabr, have patience of what you are holding on to, and do not allow things to influence you to change your behavior or to change your path. This is a beautiful story. Look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Dawood alayhi salam so much, gave him amazing things. The birds and the mountains, they used to echo after his recitation, and he gave him kingdom. وَآتَيْنَاهُ الْحِكْمَةَ, when we gave him the wisdom. وفصل الخطاب, and he was able to speak to his people so freely and so nicely. One time, look at the story that has happened. A small story, look what has happened to Dawood alayhi salam. He was sitting in his castle, in his place, and two khasam, two adversaries, they climbed over the wall, they went to him. He got scared of them because the door was locked. So he looked up to them. They said, don't be afraid. We are two adversaries. We are two people in dispute. We're fighting each other, but we want you to judge amongst us with haqq. One of them steps up and he says, my brother has 99 sheep and I have one. And my brother asked me to add my sheep to his. Dawood alayhi salam immediately looked up and he says, he has transgressed. He has done something bad by adding your sheep to his sheep overall. And now, how are you going to know which one, what is your wealth? Is it one? Is it going to be 100? Is it going to be how many of them? Because you have one share out of 100, like this. And he says, إن كثيرا من الخلطاء لا يبغي بعضهم على بعض إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. And he says, a lot of khulata, a lot of people who, mix their money together like this, they, when adding a little bit of money to a lot of money, a lot of partnerships, that ends up in some kind of, some kind of injustice between the partners. But then Dawood alayhi salam, for a second, thought about the whole process, like, wait a minute, what's going on? Wow, these two people, they jumped over the wall. They did not come through the door. They actually jumped over the wall. And Dawood alayhi salam got scared of them. It's like, why would a king, and he is number one king in the rule of his own people. Number two, he's a judge. Why his door would be locked up? Why do people have to jump over the wall? And why does he have to tell them that, this way? So he looked up, he thought, that's these people must be a test for me. I'm the one who's being tested with this. So he had some doubts in his heart, or the doubt almost reached in his heart. But, and this is the ayah here, number 24, وَظَنَّ دَاوُودُ أَنَّمَا فَتَنَّاهُ. And Dawood thought we are making fitna to him. But actually, the fitna was, the test for him is for him to stay steadfast on his message. Do not allow the influence of others to change his path. Do not allow the doubt to come into your heart. Do not allow others to influence your position or your status. So Dawood alayhi salam made ruku' to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this has sajda here, the sajda of ruku' number 24. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have forgiven him because he almost had a little bit of doubt about his mission. Another example, look at Sulaiman alayhi salam. Sulaiman was an amazing king, an amazing prophet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the prophecy after Dawood alayhi salam. They were both prophets when Dawood alayhi salam was still alive anyway. He was a prophet. One day, now look at the story here. He was in the desert. He used to love horses. And these horses, they used to do the work for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِذْ عُرِضَ عَلَيْهِ بِالْعَشِيِّ الصَّافِنَاتُ الْجِيَادُ. It's about almost Maghrib time. He has the horses to have a display in front of him. فقال, he said, إني أحببت حب الخير عن ذكر ربي. He says, I love for me to the love to see the horses, the khayr, the good in the horses, because it reminds me of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then it disappeared into the horizon. When he said, ردوها علي, bring her back to me. فطفق مسحا بالسوق والأعناق. And he kept on stroking it, or kept on, passing his hand on its legs, on his forearms. And he was in complete obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا سُلَيْمَانَ. We have given fitna to Sulaiman. Some kind of fitna. We're really not clear what kind of fitna he had. But he was in complete state of disability for a while. When he was in complete disability the way he was, he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for him to be given a kingdom or ownership of something that will never be given to anybody. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered his dua. He's given the control of jinn, the control of earth, and give him the languages to understand the birds. And he had a big, huge army. We know the story that we talked about in Surah Sabah. Sulaiman alayhi salam almost was going to get influenced outside by the outside things on his decisions, but he was going steadfast. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewarded him of what he has done. The third story here is Ayyub alayhi salam. And this last story we're going to be talking about, except the disobedience of Shaitan. Ayyub alayhi salam, this is the story about him. He was a prophet from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he was such an obedient prophet. He was giving so much, and he was such a pious person. And he used to come to his people, making dua, asking them to enter Islam, to stay steadfast, and on and on and on. His people looked up, they said amongst each other, they said, you know what? Ayyub alayhi salam has big family, he has a lot of money, he has a lot of land. He's worshiping because he has this. But if he's poor, he would not be like that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested him. So he took away his family, he took away his money, he took away his health, he took away his own beauty. He was a good-looking man. Now he became somebody who's disabled. You don't even recognize him because of what he has done. His wife was still with him. So he was completely disabled. He was reliant on his wife to bring him food, to take care of him. He was not even able to move for a while. Scholars said is 7 years. People said longer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how long, very long time. So Ayyub alayhi salam, he was very patient. He never asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for anything. One day, Shaitan intercepted the wife of Ayyub alayhi salam, and she asked him, and the Shaitan, of course, tried to play with her and say, you know what, worship me or follow me, and the health will come back, the money will come back to your husband, to Ayyub. So she came back to him, to Ayyub alayhi salam, and she started to talk to him like this, and he got angry with her. He says, you know what, if I'm able to get up, I'm going to come over, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to, because of the things that you are saying to me. And she got angry, she left. That's the time he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala returned his health, his money, and his family back to him. And this is the ayah here. What he can do at this point, because he swore he's going to have to hit his wife the way he was going to comply with his oath. So the ayah here says, وَخُذْ بِيَدِكَ ضِغْثًا فَاضْرِبْ بِهِ وَلَا تَحْنَثْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered him, and he told him, he says, take a few pieces of straws in your hand, very light, and you can strike her with these straws, that they don't do any harm to her, but do not violate your oath that you have given by you doing what you wanted to do. Comply with your oath, but do it in a way that there's no harm is going to come out of it. Do not allow her to influence you. Do not allow things to influence your decision or your position. Inna wajadnahu sabira ni'mal abdu innahu awwab wa abd. These people would not allow things to influence their decisions or their work or the good work or who they are or what they are. Who did? Who allowed it is the shaitan. And this is all the way towards the end. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the end of Surah Sad, illa Iblis istakbara wa kana min al-kafirin. Iblis, he was with the angels, and when the angels are worshiping and he was worshiping with them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered them to make sujood to Adam alayhi salam, and he looked up and he thought, I'm not going to make sujood for him. I'm better than him. I'm created from fire. He's made out of mud. I am clean. He's dirty. I'm pure. He is not pure like me. And he disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, gave him a period of time for him to get some people on his path, but eventually his destination would be the hellfire. Be steadfast on your path. Do not allow things to influence your deen, your Islam, your faith. Always hold on to it. Always think in the ways of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't make any sense. You have a difficulty to contemplate it, to understand it. Follow it. Follow it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you extreme rewards, that things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only with him will be able to give you if you follow this path, even though you are not understanding or you are having difficulty to, to fathom your deen or the instructions. The other message of Surah Sad, do not allow the influence of others to influence you, to affect your path overall. Always stay steadfast on the path and always be on the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive our sins. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, straighten our path. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our ibadat in the month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us reach Laylatul Qadr. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the full forgiveness